Okay, it's showtime. So, hi everybody, this is Michel Labrèche, directly from my home. I'm doing those videos about consciousness in the midst of my program, which I have to diffuse the information and of the Wizard of Oz 2, or the Sole Purpose. Now, the book has been out in French for a while, maybe 2 years, but I was not able to make a proper marketing of that. And basically, since my health condition was very fragile, I was stuck and confined to be at my home. Now I'm much more better, and since I have a inner force that helps me to grow and to go upon whatever my outside experience make me suffer. Basically, I think we're going to edit that again because I'm not in it. Okay, hi, I'm Michel Labrèche, author of The Wizard of Oz 2, or The Sole Purpose. Now, for those of you who don't know me, I have this book here now that is in English, and it's a translation of Les Pouvoirs de la Magicienne. And the book is out, and the first one is free and will be sent to anybody who asks for it. And basically you have to pay postage, and that's it. And this is like a business card for me because it holds like the table of contents and the first chapter of why did I write this book and the glossary. Now, of course, The Wizard of Oz 2, or The Sole Purpose, is a play on word with The Wizard of Oz. And the sole purpose can be the sole of the shoe. It can be the sole purpose being the only purpose, and it could be the purpose of the soul. So then again, this book is now available in French and in Spanish, and there will be about 20 other languages. And I will make sure that this consciousness that is included in that book is being forwarded everywhere on earth. Now, over the years, I have studied, I have analyzed, I have experienced, I have realized a lot of stuff. And since it's really, really important, well, I have to share with the viewers. So basically, I'm doing those time capsule, which will be available on my internet site, my website, and it's wizardofoz.com. Now, of course, this one is the Spanish translation, El Mágico de Hoy. Okay, so El Mágico de Hoy means the wizard of today, and it's a play on word with El Mágico de Oz. So Oz and Oi, and in Portuguese it's OJ and Oz, and in Italian it's OG and Oz. So it's all a play on words saying that today we have an inner wizard that is awaiting to be summoned up and to be set free. Now, in order to do this, you must understand life at a higher level, and you must understand your purpose, your programmation, your karma, and what the hell are we doing here, down here on earth, and where do we come from, and where are we going? So basically, people try to know themselves, and people try to assert in their mind what is the goal of evolution. And of course, the goal of evolution is that throughout experience, people will evolve. And evolution helped mankind, humanity, to from the caveman era to actual era, to grow and to accumulate consciousness in a way that is now known as knowledge. And the known knowledge, because we have the help of our memory, can be stacked together and put up in very big database. Nowadays, the database are being summarized into computers, and the supercomputer can operate and do a very, very fast operation of multiple tasks at the same time. Now, the thing is this, is that basically the game plan I have is to simply write my book in the first 3 languages, which is French, English, and Spanish, and have all the material available on the website. Now, of course, the book will have the counterpart in electronic books, and will have like a CD audio or USB key, or basically people will be able to stream and link on the website and hear any conference that I will give. Now, of course, if the tone of my voice and the debit I have makes it that it's accurate, it meets a need, and people say, well, I think that this person is speaking the right languages, in the sense that he holds a key to our consciousness. Well, at that time, then my thing will be a success, and then I will do conferences and workshops and maybe cruises, and we'll all try to discover life at a greater span, and it will be for the benefit of everybody. Now, of course, the three basic principles in life are intelligence, love, and will. Now, the intelligence purpose comes from the center of the universe, where is the source, where people say that God resides. Basically, the multiple siding, the multiple aspect of God makes it that over the earth, all around the earth, people are saying, well, I have the truth, and my God is Yahweh, Allah, whatever name you can call him. And the thing is this, is that there's only one reality, and then there are multiple truths. And the multiple truths comes from the subjective way of people perceiving nature and our surrounding. So basically, in our environment, what happens is that people have their own experience, and they analyze this through their own view, and they develop a model corresponding to their inner self. Now, of course, in reality, if you fly over all the clouds, there's only one sun. Well, this is for Earth. Now, the thing is this, is that basically, if you are being in contact, and if you are being linked to that universe energy, when it comes into your mind, then it becomes what we call a clear communication between the ego here on Earth and the multiple dimension of human being on a higher plane. Now, when you don't have that loud and clear, you have what we call thoughts. The thought process is something that is very, very unknown to mankind, and it's something that has been always veiled to himself, and it's part of the mysteries. Now, of course, the thought process, everybody thinks in their mind that they're being thinking for themselves. And while they do this, what happens really is that when there's communication between ego and his own mind in his own brain space, what happens is that the brain acts as an interface, and is picking up like thoughts coming from a cloud, like a big iCloud that is around Earth, and this is called the astral plane. And the astral plane is full of entities, disembodied entities, dead person, and thought forms, and this is polluting our mind to that effect that a lot of people think that the thoughts are their own. But technically what happens is that the thoughts are being telecharged in our brain space by entities who use the decoy of using your own voice when they talk to you. So of course, if in your mind somebody would address to you from the invisible realm and would talk to you and say, listen, I am an entity and I'm asking you to do this, you'd probably contest it and maybe confront it, and maybe you will not execute the plan as received in your mind. But of course, if in your mind you hear a voice with the tone of your voice saying you have to do this, technically you're so surprised that it's yourself that is saying that basically normally you would listen to yourself. And if you listen to yourself, then basically you're being trapped, you're being confused, you're being used, you're being manipulated, interfered with, all those things. So basically, when you're linked to the source, anything that is intelligent will happen in your mind, and anything that is not intelligent will come from another dimension, which is a sub-dimension of the total intelligence, and it's a lower plane, and then this becomes your rationalism, becomes your intellect, and your thought pattern. So basically, those are not as evolved as a pure communication between your as ego and yourself being centered in the center of the universe. So when this energy descends upon mankind, then it reaches the soul state. And when it is in your soul, basically you are being experienced with an array of emotion. And all the emotion that you will undergo are emotions that are linked to let's say doubt, fear, jealousy, envy, all those kind of emotion. And those state of behavior that you are adopting builds an energy loss that is undergone by your soul. And basically, when your soul is like depleted of its energy, you die, and then you have to go back. You're disassembled, energetically speaking. Your body, ashes to ashes, goes back to earth, and your vital body goes back to the etheric body of the surrounding the earth, and your astral body, which is your soul, goes back to the plane of the soul, and then you have to assimilate. You have to integrate all your experience, and at one point you have to understand what you did on life, and what were your good shot and what were your bad shot. And whatever good you did is because you listened to yourself, your goodness, and the righteousness of your spirit. And when you were badly influenced, then you did some bad things and bad choice. And because of the bad choice resulting from the influences, then you have attract to yourself like some karma. And if you have done negative deed that made suffering or made something bad or wrong, the thing is that you create kind of an energetic bond between your soul and the next person's soul, and those souls are being like in the same condition, energetically speaking wise, and basically are attracted to one another. So whatever deeds you did in this life will have repercussion in the next one, and in the meanwhile you'll be in the astral plane, and you'll have to digest this technically very slowly. If you live, let's say, 80 years on the physical plane, you probably will take at least 80 to 100 years to assimilate this and to understand whatever has happened to you when you were living. And of course, this experiencing a lot of stuff is creating suffering. And through suffering, the soul learns and can auto-correct itself. And when it's auto-correcting, then through the participation of reincarnation, with a long process, what happens is that the soul is getting able to connect with more and more intelligence. And the more it is intelligence, the better a life plan she has. And the better the flow, the soul has a life plan, then the programmation becomes really easy. And in the next time nearby life, you'll be able to experience like total connection with the intelligence of the spirit, with the power of the energy of love, and in the physical body through all your chakra, being like your third eye, and being like your throat, and then being like your heart, and then the solar plexus, and then like the lower ones. Basically, you'll be able to convert energy and have it like bring to destiny to each of your cell of your physical body. And when you do this, then the energy will only radiate from an invisible point to a physical point in your physical body, and then it will elevate your frequency of your radiation rate. And what it will done, it will be simply making you vibrate more and more. And at one point, like if you put water to a pan with water, if you put power to there, then the heat will transfer to the molecules of the water, and at one point it will bear so much energy that at one point it will vibrate so rapidly that it will break away from the liquid state and will become gases. And when it becomes gases, then we say that there's a change of state. And basically it means that the water has accumulated so much energy that, of course, vapors is very hot. Why? Because it's the temperature of the gas. There's a formula that exists. It says the pressure times the volumes equals the number of molecules times temperature and times a certain constant. So basically what it does, it only says that in any chemical reaction, nothing is gained, nothing is lost, everything is transformed and transmuted. So basically, if we are like the water, it means that if we accumulate enough energy, we will be able to change a state. And instead of going through the reincarnation circle and cycle, you'll be able to break away and go from physic state to psychic state. So it's like if the water at some point, you know what we call sublimation. In French, it's the fact to go from a solid state to a gaseous state, and we are bypassing the liquid state. So if you have carbonic ice that is used often in like shows, rock star shows. They want to make like if there is any clouds of energy, so they just put like carbonic ice at the temperature of the room, and it goes from solid like a rock and then to gas, but it doesn't go through the liquid state, and then it just kind of evaporates in the thin air. So basically we'll be able to do this. So we'll be able to bypass the astral plane by dying and going to the etheric plane without having to go with this reincarnation cycle. So this is really important to understand. So the thing is this, is that when we're going to be doing this, we're going to be really going further and creating a new civilization based on partaking, based on sharing and love. Because basically love is being experienced at the emotional state, and love is not emotional. It can take emotional dimension if you don't have like total intelligence. But what happens is that the intelligence will nourish you, and basically it takes a lot of spirit in order to be able to love. Because if you have love without intelligence, you'll be like you'll be manipulated, you'll be controlled, and contained into a grasp of something that is maintaining a hold on you. And you must not be controlled by love, but you must only experience love at a higher level, that your full body, mind and soul, your total intelligence is radiating a pure ray of energy, and that ray of energy is feeding you as long as it's feeding other people, and it's descending upon your physical body, and it will be even able to transform your physical body, and your myelin sheath will be more thicker and will be able to experience more electricity in your body, because the body actually is very, very chemical, and all the endorphins and everything, the corticosteroid, everything that you undergo when you run the marathon, and then you have like a very high state of high because your body is secreting some enzyme and some hormones in your body. So basically the body actually has a lot of chemical reaction, but when it will be more evolved, it will have more physiological and electrical stimulation, and thus the myelin sheath in this body cell must be like more thick in order to be able to absorb more electrification of its pathways. So the thing is this, I'm doing those capsules, and what I'm doing as the time goes by, I'm doing like a movie right now, like Michael Moore, like Al Gore, like Foster Gamble, like Jacques Fresco, all those guys who make movie about passion, about things that they understand, and things that they want to disclose and expose. They want to have an exposure to the world. If you don't eat right, if you have too many guns regulation, and you have too many things in your life, then violence will occur. And if we're not conscious enough, we'll be doomed ourselves, because the pollution we're creating will do that the polar caps will technically melt, and then the rays of the water of the sea will do that New York and Miami and California might disappear. And because of that, within 20 years, we're going to experience a lot of confrontation with the media and with people who are, trying to expose this, like Greenpeace for the animals kingdom, and David Suzuki for the wildlife and stuff like that. So to be frank, basically what I'm saying is that a lot of things will happen, and consciousness is not for everybody. A lot of people will see me and just turn the channel and say this is not for me, and others will say I've looked all my life for something that is very continuous, in a framework where intelligence and creativity is like put forward. So basically this is what I'm trying to do, and I know that my English is not excellent, but it's still tolerable by people who will understand what I really want to say. And basically my work is going to be translated, and then the movie I'm doing is like the platform I'm using in order to be able to have a great soundtrack, and to have a great editing and realization of the movie by producers and stuff like that. If you have nice contents, it doesn't require like an Hollywood budget in order to do this. You can be privately owned and do your stuff, but if you have contents, and you can be a bullseye and hit right on the dot. And if you do this, basically people will listen, and people will be drawn and not magnify or magnetize, sorry, but they will be drawn to that attraction rod that will be in place and that will be attracting whoever wants to be himself participating into the creation of a new evolved civilization. So the consciousness I'm talking to you about has nothing to do with the New Age, which is a movement that is almost like a sect, saying that mysticism and esoterical people and occultist people, they all have their agenda. But those agenda are one part of the thing. It's like the tip of the iceberg. So when you are complete as a human being and a human woman, basically you are complete. So you have field of interest for medicine, for art, for science, for politics, for sport, anything but through the creativity of the mind. And if you are in that agenda, well, you will be one day be in contact with me, because I will be making my mandate that I will display and dispense all the necessary needs and energy required in order to attain this goal. One of my friends said that this is a guy that says that there is the $10,000 10,000-hour criteria, and if you do anything, play violins, or if you write a story, or if you do cooking and you do 10,000 hours, of course you will have to succeed and have great success, because you've been determined and you have put perseverance and you have put so many hours there that at one point you must acknowledge and you must be like the elite of whatever you're doing. So I've been at it for 15,000 hours right now. I counted all my hours, all my experience since I'm 5 years old, and I up to there the first writing of the book in French and the first writing of the book in English, plus this book. So basically the movie is about consciousness, and I will be interrogating about 50%, and all those 50% or 60% will talk for an hour and a half in French and in English, and I'll do a movie and then a series. And if I take, a citation of somebody and I take an excerpt of his dialogue with me, his interview, and the best 2 minutes of a 1 hour interview, the person could be talking about anything but won't be able to be confronted with, because he will be talking to authority of whatever lights him up, whether it's a passion or is it ability that he has, or capacity or an understanding. And basically when you have all this put together, I'll do a movie, and the movie will redirect consciousness to another point. And the point is that we have, like the phoenix, we have to be born again from our own ashes. And what does it mean is that technically you can do a movie and have a spiritual conclusion, like Foster Gamble has. He says if we all hold hands, we are much more, 100 times more than the one that are controlling us, and basically we will be able to overthrow whatever is manipulating us. And I think this is a bit naive in a way, that because of that, it's never going to be happening this way, because there's too much at stake, and money wise, and whoever controls the money controls everything. So basically the people holding the powers won't be able to share it, or won't want to give it away. So basically, if you have another way in an environment conclusion of Al Gore, I don't know what's his conclusion, but I know that this movie is really well done. And what he's saying is that if we don't act right now, and it's only not only the Kyoto Accord, it's something else, the protocol is something else, that we have as a group, the earth as one body must refuse to continue the pollution that we are going. And all the major companies sometimes say we meet the standard or we don't meet the standard, and then we get fined, and it's a couple of $1 million, but who cares, because they have billions. So the thing is this, is that we can't continue to pollute the sea, the oceans, and then the earth, and the air we're breathing, and the chemicals we put into the food and stuff like that, without having to live and undergo like repercussion of that unconsciousness. So basically what has to be done is that there must be a purification of anybody that are not into a thought wave, which are really pure and creative and conscious. And basically what it does mean that is that Earth itself as an entity will probably react to whatever unconsciousness of mankind has done. And in a glimpse, in a period of maybe 2-3 weeks, within a very short delay of maybe 1, 2, 3, 5, 10 years, I don't know, but there will be a major event on Earth by the hand of mankind, or by the nature itself, what we call Mother Nature, that would be a reaction to whatever interfering mankind did with Earth itself. And by doing so, the persons that will be free from this global karma would be person that would be at the good time, at the good spot, and that would be in inner sync with themselves and with the Earth itself. And because of that, they will be at the right place, and they will not suffer as much as all the other person of the events. Of course, the event that would unravel will be for everybody. And if they are for everybody, it means that the intelligent one and the wise one, but more intelligent, will know what to do, when to do, and how to do it, and will arrange for themselves to be independent into water supply, into food supply, energy supply, and they will be, shedded from the exterior of the global catastrophe that will be hitting us like a tsunami. And it might not be by water, it might be by fire, it might be by electromagnetic wave, it could be by eruption, or like when volcano blows up and we have all the lava and everything. So it could be an outbreak with genetic manipulation that we do with when we H1N1 is the virus, and we play around with this, and then there's a mutation, and if the body does not recognize a mutated agent like a virus or a bacteria, then we could simply die of exhausting after having catch a flu or something as ridiculous as that. So basically, it's really important to know that the principle of consciousness makes it that we have to be aware of the nearby future change at the horizon. And this change, nobody can foresee it for an exact date, because it will never be given as an information from the invisible realm to us. And even though people are, walking around in the street of New York with a big sign saying the end is near, you know what? One day, one of that person will be right, because the end will be like the day after. And unless the movie, otherwise than the movie The Day After and The Day After Tomorrow, which are movies that tends to pretend that there will be a nuclear holocaust, or we'll have like a problem with the temperature and cyclones and tropical storm and stuff like that. The important is not how it will hit us, is what would hit us, and what will be our response, in a sense that how will the physical body react to like global warming, or will react to a high level of radiation if there's a problem with like Fukuyama in Japan. So when all those things happen together, it depends where you are, how you will live that, and what will be your connection with yourself. And then you'll have the urge or the intuition of saying, well, let's go over there and let's do this and let's contact that person. And birds of a feather flock together. Well, it will means that people that will radiate the same energy wavelength will be trying to associate themselves together, and will probably be picked up by other energies alive in the cosmos, who are living in a different time-space continuum, and that will be around here to pick up whatever is left of the old society that will have gone AWOL and will have gone down the drain. Now, if this happens, of course, your only sureness, your only reality is the connection with yourself and within yourself, and to know how to set your wizard free and become the wizard of you instead of the wizard of us. And if you do how to do this, well, basically you will experience a threshold of going through the dying, the death of the actual society, and the birth of a new one that will be growing over the old one in a very, very different way, because it will not be projection with the past, and it will not be the continuation of something that has already been set, but will be the continuation of something that has been planted like seeds of light in the mind of some very rare, seldom people, and those people will be bearing intelligence. And if the next society is composed of 80 million people instead of 8 billion people, well, even if the rate is 1% or 5%, there will be much less people on Earth, and we'll be able to beneficiate from the best of all the tradition, all the positive one, and we will not be undermined by all the negative aspect of any tradition who would be like manipulating or imposing its status over an individual. So we will see great things, and the science we will have will not come from people working in laboratories of regular nature. It will be by people who will have the incentive of connecting with themselves and with other race of other dimension that will transfer their knowledge to us, and human being will captate this and will raise their level of consciousness really rapidly, and to the end it will mean a descending of new technologies for liberation of the mind of the human body. And it's not only what we call progression of science as we know it, and having a new intelligent phone, number 6, number 7, number 8, number 10, or the software, Windows 14 or 15, because all those are part of a certain agenda of invisible forces wanting to interfere and manipulating us. And all those technologies come with a price, and the price is that the more we're attached to it, the more we are free, but the more we are limited, because without them we can't function anymore. So basically, instead of working with machines, you should be working with your intuition and your inner self, and be able to tapping in your own energy and focusing. And if you do this, you'll be able to have the power of the word. And the power of the word is what? Is only the ability for you to connect with this intelligence energy that when it's going through you, take a form, is verbalized, is modulated, is amplified, and at the same time is funneled and channeled, and at the same time it becomes like a laser beam of intelligence, a ray of energy that can focus and that can becomes very precise. And at one point, whatever you are generating in your body will be simply the totality of your awareness that has been concrete, that has been densified into matter. And to that matter, now I will introduce a book that I've read that you probably are not aware. And the book is written by a French doctor that used to be a doctor, and it's Jean Rat, and so John Rate, and it's Cellular Man, L'Homme Cellular. And in that book, this genius explained that there's a very big similarity with the human here and the fetus when he's 3 months old. And of course, so I have a diagram here that you will see on the camera. And of course, if you see here, you have the embryo, and then you have the ear. And the ear and the embryo is totally similar. So what does it says to that man? It says that it's a perception. Those are graphics that are known internationally. If you see on one side, you see a duck. But you see on the other side, then you see a rabbit. And on this one, the lower one, you see like a cup. And then if you look in between the lines, you see a couple of white people, and the background is in black. So basically, it all depends of your linear or interdimension vision. And if you do how to do this, he's talking about the way the cell is built. And in this diagram here, he says that you have the microtubes, and you have the center, which is the neurotic, and then you have the vascular, and then you have the skeletic with the skeleton otherwise. This is how the basic cell is done. And in the middle, you have the mitochondria, and then you have other ribosome and other things. And the mitochondria is like the power plant that is making the energy for the cell. And in the cycle of ADP, ATP, in that cycle, it's like adenosine double phosphate and adenosine triple phosphate. And in that cycle, there's production of energy. And in those energy are the redox molecule. Now, the redox molecule, okay, have been written about, and then people didn't know what it did. But the redox molecule, what it does is like a team of repair that is built by the cell when the cell is damaged or when it's born. And when you're 10, 20 years old, you have a lot of those. And when you're 70, 80, you have almost none. So there's a company in Utah with the Mormons that had done this fantastic water, and it's called ASEA, ASEA. And this holds about 33 patent to this fabrication, and it's done very, very top secret. And it tastes like salt water, and it's in Salt Lake City by the Mormons. What an irony. And basically you have here all the formula of the water, which adopts an hexagon, which is 6-side cell when it's contracted. And if you take this thing, it will give you like curative qualification and nutritive at the same time. So you can be nourished by the water by intaking this, and there's a gel, and if you put it outside a wound, and then you will have like a mark, and the mark will go away. And then you have pharmaceutical application, because a lot of companies are looking to making like the fountain of youth out of that, and it could be the fountain of Utah. Who would have think of that? So basically what I want to say is that there are lots of products that do exist, like the sunjite, which is a meteorite that fell in Ukraine near Russia, and this is sunjite. And the sunjite is between like the lead and uranium, and is electrically neutral like gold. That is called a noble metal because it's electrically neutral. And if you have like the symbol here, like the Ohm symbol, looks like a tree, a question mark, then a little like a croissant, and then a dot. Those are the 4 elements. So you have the earth, and then you have here the water, and then you have the air, and then you have the fire. And in all those elements, if you have a shape like this, when it goes into my thumb, then this becomes what we call an infinite stone, like in the movie The Guardian of the Galaxy, except this one is working right, because this one is protecting me by generating a force field around my body, and any ELF, extremely low frequency waves, is being like destroyed by this. So this has a very high application. And another one here is like the Tesla watch. So this is a real Tesla watch. I own one here that I bought 20 years ago from guys in the state, and now the people from Illinois are importing this from Switzerland. And this has a mechanism, and the mechanism inside, what it does is that whatever is ELF is extremely low frequency, generated by the computer, by the phones, so microwaves, and basically those are like sending to us a lot of little mini spears, making piercing holes in our other bodies of etheric dimension. And basically, if you have this watch to you, it will generate a force field, and it will eat out all the ELF, and will resend this reconfigured with like the 7.83 megahertz, which is the resonance frequency of Earth. So if you have that, it's exactly the same thing as if you have an ash tree that is eating out whatever smoke is getting out from a cigarette, and then filtering it and sending you fresh air. Same principle. So I become a distributor of all those products, also ASEA, sunjite, and Tesla watches. And in my center that I want to create, we will have this. So this leads me to the next point. There's a prophecy that was done by the Algonquin Indians, Amerindians of Minnesota. And Andrew McCroskey from Ottawa told me that in the last 12,000 years, there was a wellness center on the Victoria Island, just behind the Parliament in Ottawa, in Canada. And we can see this from his apartment. And from his apartment, you see the Victoria Island, and it's a small island that was a wellness center. And every Amerindian was coming from California, from Alaska, from Labrador, and from Florida, all over the North America, inside Ottawa. And at that time it was like a wellness center, and they were meeting there each cycle, maybe years, 2 years, 5 years, I don't know, but they have found artifacts and like shells of seashells in this island in Ottawa, Victoria Island, that were only found in California, and some other artifacts are only found in Alaska, and some others are only found in Florida and in Labrador. So what it means is that long time ago, people knew how to travel, maybe with inside current, with maybe with inside sea, internal sea, and we're able to come there and gather as a people. And there's a prophecy saying that nowadays is the time where the black people, the red people, the yellow people, and the white people will all unite together on the turtle. And the turtle is nothing less than North America, because you have the two legs and two arms, which are California and Alaska and Florida and Labrador. So basically, we know that 12,000 years ago, people were traveling great distance in order to meet and to exchange and to share, and that was the spirit. So basically, it seems that most of that have gone away, and now we have only wars and conflict, and even in our own backyard. So it's very, very sad. So what can we do about this? Well, the Wizard of Oz 2, or the Soul Purpose, is diffusing a very insight information on what is the situation right now, how does it work, what is the construction of our mind, what are emotion, what is reincarnation, what is death, is the body, what is the soul, what is the spirit, the actual psychology of our world. It talks about the thought patterns, talks about the end of the cycle, talks about how to become a great wizard, who were the great wizards of the past, what are the ESP phenomenon, what are the paranormal phenomenon, what are the notion of the future, my personal experiences, whatever books we have to read, whatever movie we have to see, what are the conclusions that we should be drawing from reading this book. So it's all there. And now, just to let you know, because I have this book in my hand, this book has opened my consciousness in the last 2 weeks, in the beginning of 2018, and now I was able to elaborate my three-dimension formula, mathematical formula. In my book, The Wizard of Oz 2, you will see there is volume 5, chapter 15 or 14, is from page 215 to 235. There are like digits and numbers that are applying to my mathematical formula. And the mathematical formula goes as this: A times B equals A plus B divided by 2 elevated at the square minus A minus B divided by 2 and the whole elevated by square. So I call this the theorem or the dogma of multiplication. And what it means is that if we have a sequence to obtain, through that formula you can obtain the sequencing of any multiplication of two numbers. And what are more representative of a multiplication of two numbers than human being? A man and a woman uniting themselves at the level of their gene and DNA, and they are coupling together, and by coupling they are exchanging the information contained in the genes. Now in the genes, of course, you have dominant genes and recessive genes, and the dominant genes makes it that if you have blue eyes or brown eyes, then one will take over the other one because it will be imposing on it. And if you have two blue eyes, then you can only have blue eyes, and you have two brown eyes, you can only have brown eyes. But you have a brown eyes and a blue eyes, sometimes you'll get one of them or the other one. So basically, this explains this formula that, by the way, was known by the Babylonians and the Sumerians very long time ago, maybe 3,000-4,000 years ago, and those people were civilization dedicating their own life to mathematics. So I found that formula when I was 14 years old in 1973, and I was waiting for a bus transfer, and I was going back from a practice of table tennis because I was really good at it, a bit like Forrest Gump. And basically I was waiting for a bus. It was minus 25 outside, very, very cold in the winter, and I was asking to myself, how come if you do 4 times 6 you have 24, and if you have 5 squared you have 25, and if you have 5 times 7 you have 35, and if you have 6 squared you have 36, a difference of 1. And you have, let's say, 8 times 10, that's 80, and if you have 9 squared, it's 81. So again, a difference of 1. And I did elaborate the formula, but I did it all on my own when I was 13, 14, so that's really great. I should have gone to MIT or Harvard or UCLA, I don't know, Berkeley, whatever. What I want to say is that when I wrote the book in 2012 to 2015, I was on the edge of discovering a new formula, but that doesn't go square. This is linear, this is 2-dimensional, but a formula that go to the cubic. And if you go to the cubic, it will explain the X, Y, Z axis, and then you will be able to determine in a mathematical formula the existence of matter itself, the 3 dimension. and I was living with that question. I said, if you do 4 times 7 times 10, you will have like 280. And 280 is equal to 7 cubic, that's 343, minus 4 cubics, that's 64, minus 1 cubic, that is 1. So 280, this is 4 times 7 times 10, is equal to 343 minus 64 minus 1, which is 63. 343 minus 63 equals 280. So there I was. I had a glimpse at the new formula. And the new formula, since I read that book, I was able to open my consciousness and to further it, and now I have it, and now I will be publicating a very scientific book because it all leads to the same thing. And this man in this book is talking about light like everybody else, and he's saying that there's the quantum physics and there's even the subquantum physics. And the quantum physics is what? Basically everybody agrees that we have frequencies and you have wavelengths, and the vibration of the ray that determines, the pulsating and stuff like that. But he says that Fourier is a guy that says that there is a nice drawing I will put in my work, and you have like a complex wave, and if you add the waves all together, you have 3 waves within the waves. And what I mean by that is that he says, Michel, everybody is arguing about the light, and we should be looking about the pigment, because the pigments hold the information that gives the light the color. So there are only like 4 pigments in life. The pigments are here, and I have tried to do the best what I could with the colors. So we have like this is like kind of a red magenta, and this would be like black mixed with red, and this would give the color of the blood, hemoglobin, okay, in the blood. So this one is beta carotene. It's kind of an orange like a pumpkin, and beta carotene, you can find this, let's say, in oranges and then in carrots. And this one is chlorophyll, which gives the green color to whatever grass or trees, and the chlorophyll is what makes the transformation with O2 to release oxygen in the air. So that's really important. So you have the blood, you have the beta carotene for the nourishing, and then this is for the air. And you have the blue one, and the blue one is cyanobacteria, is like a kind of a blue, and you have like carbon and azote in the same compound, and then that gives the blue. So of course you notice here that there is no yellow. Why there's no yellowish? Because the yellow, you have it here and you have it here. When you have orange, you have red and yellow, and when you have green, you have yellow and blue. But there is no indigo or violet. Why? Because normally this, the red and the blue, can combine and become violet, like my jacket here. But normally, unless you do this, the violet will never touch, the red will never touch the blue. And in another way of thinking this, so this is what gives the color to any food, to any clothes, to anything, because normally the waves and the material are absorbing certain frequencies and they are radiating some others. So we have totally pitch black. It means that it's the condensation of all the colors. It's all absorbing, no reflecting. And if you have all white, it's the contrary. It's all reflecting, no absorption. And that's why some animals, let's say the bunny, okay, of Himalayan, okay. So basically, the bunny has all the fur of his body white, but the tip of his nose, of his ear, and of his legs are black. Why? Because black absorb all the wavelength, and therefore blacks absorb the light. And if it absorbs the light, then if there are lights, the black members of the animal will be more suited for touching the snow, which is very, very cold. So it's evolutive adaptation, and that's very nice. So basically, people that will look at this conference will understand that you have, when you have like a TV screen and you have filters that with ray of light, you have RGB, red, green, and blue. You have no yellow, because when you have green, you have yellow and blue. And you have no violet, because you have blue and yellow that you can compose the violet. But there's only 3 filter polarized that are needed. But when you print something on a paper like this, then it changed. It's CMYK. C for cyan, with kind of blue, M for magenta, which is kind of red, Y for yellow, and K for black. Because then it's another ball game. And in the CMYK, you have the yellow, but you don't have orange like you have here. And you don't have any CMYK, you don't have green. Why? Because if you have CMYK, if you have yellow and you have cyan, which is blue, then you have your green there. So basically, I have to let you know that this man have makes observation that if you take Kodak film, diapositive, okay, filter, and you wave it near the ear, like you have in this diagram, which the fetus looks like an ear, the human body will detect the information contained in the filter and will react to this. So this guy is like a piano tuner, and you see that we have a table of harmony, a case of resonance like a violin, and if he brings to the ear basic colors like this, with sounds, with even names written on some certain paper, the body is detecting that and is reacting. And instead of taking the pression with the two fingers here, this is the cubital artery, he takes the tension with the thumb, and then this becomes a volume instead of a surface. And if you do this, you can detect any variation that is detected by the body when pigment is brought to near the ear, because when you bring it near the ear, it will generate a geomorphic form that will be intake by the body. So he's saying that most of the people are defaced and are not centered with themselves, and by doing so he's making some kind of treatment, and by doing this he's only touching you at the thumb part of your body, because he wants to detect whatever is the response of your body to the approach of some information contained on pigment, on different colors of filters. And he told me, Michel, you know, Fuji company is making synthetic filters, but it's not doing the thing. The Kodak one are the only one working, because the Kodak had the process of invent a bit like Stradivarius, and Stradivarius was a guy that was able to make violins that have a perfect pitch, and the mi or the re or the do was perfect with the case of resonance. So that's why those violins sells for $1 million, let's say. So because they are very acute, and then today with the actual technology, we're not able to make the same kind of precision of violin that that guy has a way of technology. So the Kodak company has closed, unfortunately. But some guys in the world have kept like Kodak filters, and since they have Kodak filters, it means that it holds the proper information that enables this man of making a very nice treatment. And he's saying on top of that, you know, when you were young, you were playing with Etch-a-Sketch, and it was a red box with sand inside, all gray, and you had two white buttons, and then you would drawing anything, and now at the end, when you want to make a reset, you just go like this, and then you have like a new reset. Well, this guy, by treating us in 3-4 treatment of 1 hour, is able to reset you and unfold you of all the programs that have clogged your own programmation. And if you just are being examined and realigned by that person, what it does is that it's like if you are Machu Picchu, you know, in Peru, and I don't know if it's in Peru, but I think it's South America, and that great city was lost because it was taken over by the jungle, and he comes in and he cuts all the green stuff and all whatever is, you know, the trees and the forest that's grown over the jungle, and you are your own city of Machu Picchu. And when he treats you, what it does is that it permits you and allows you to yourself cure yourself. He's saying to me, Michel, I'm not curing anybody, I'm just giving you the opportunity of curing yourself. And that's a big difference, because you know, the women on life, on earth, they're the one who bears the children, and the woman, after she's impregnated, she becomes pregnant, and 9 months after, ta-da, you know, you have a baby. But don't ask that person to write down all the chemical reaction that occur in her body for 9 months, because it would be high as the Empire State Building. But she can accomplish this because it's built in her body. So because of that, He's saying to me, Michel, you know, you can cure yourself of anything if you have even cancer or whatever, because you were poisoned by the food, you were poisoned by the air because of the emanation of the gas, and you were poisoned by anything that is touching you. So basically, we should not become sick at first. We should be in our own power and be people living every bit of the way until we die. Very extreme long life, healthy life, but in the process we are being hit upon, we are being conditioned, we are being manipulated, and because of that our soul is like a mold of, you know, Play-Doh, and then if you are like plasticine and then something is hitting on you and it is a scar, then it's the forest taking over and becoming like the jungle around you. So when you're being treated by that person, what it does is that it gives you your inner power, and since a woman is able to make a child from nothing, from scratch, basically you are the greatest alchemist of all time. And if each of you are that, the man has the same power as the woman, and a man and a woman can cure himself or herself very easily, because the body has no other choice than to do this. If we put back the original program, we are divine, God and Goddess, and we are creating from the source. And if we have a parcel of the source, we are a paradox, because if you do infinity of a part of infinity times infinity, technically, mathematically, it's equal 1, because 1 out on infinity times infinity, you just cross those and then you have the 1. But you are one with everything, so you are everything that there is. But a very small piece of infinity is infinite itself, because infinite defines itself as being like unlimited. So basically, if we have a portion of that initial spark that created life, that created all the known universe, all the 7 big universe, and the column of fire that is holding all this in the middle, that has a lifespan of billions and billions of years, that we can not think and talk about, because technically it's not humanly conceivable. Because if I talk about more than 100 years, I have to refer to some reference, and if it's 1,000 years, I have some reference. If it's 10,000 years, it sounds a bell. But if I'm talking about 100,000 years or 10 million years, I cannot relate to that, because the number is so big compared to my outspan of living maybe 100 years. So basically, if you do how to do this, you will be able to cure yourself and you won't be sick anymore. So basically, and when you do this, the energy that will light up your mental screen and your communication between yourself on the ego side and the center of the universe will make it that there will be clear communication, and then the communication will nourish you, will tell you what to do, and you won't be told by anybody else than yourself, but in the right manner. And then you will generate love, which is a ray of pure energy going through you and towards all the others. And when others are doing the same thing, you will be giving, and at the same time you will be able to take, and you'll be able to receive, and that's really important. And the third one is the sheer will. You will have the sheer will of changing whatever has to be changed in order for us to achieve greatness and to live an outstanding way of civilization that was never be able to be put down on earth. So my goal is to become a magnet rod, and in Quebec, this is where it will be anchored, and Quebec will become the Switzerland of finance, while Quebec will be the Switzerland of consciousness, the Silicon Valley of consciousness, the Sedona, Mount Shasta of New Age. And everything will happen here, because here we are on the Canadian bouclier, which is kind of a defense, like it's not a buckle, but it's a bouclier. So it's very, very solid here. It's like a rock, and whatever its profound and stable basis will generate and will attract all the consciousness of the people who are either scientific, artists, in the medicine, in any field. They will be attracted and coming here and wanting to create the exact contrary of the Babel Tower. It will be the bell tower, and the bell tower comes from Baal, and Baal in Hebrew means something beautiful. So beauty will be created here and will radiate with a very, very great span, and at one point we'll be able to get in touch with other civilizations, so we can access ourselves to the brotherhood of intelligent civilization throughout the actual local galaxy and the known universe. And from there on, we will be able to live things that are much more different than what we live right now. Because right now, if somebody has a good idea and can change the world, if it's too much shambling and moving around, then that person will not be there to see it. Because usually all the great minds, they all finish, unless they are really theoretical and they are not a threat for the actual society, will finish a very bad spot and will not be able to change the world, like Nikola Tesla, like this guy, if we had listened to him, and JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs would have financed him, and Westinghouse, basically would have been able to change the world and we would not be living this. But there was an agenda and there was a fight and the battle was lost, but not the war. And now, who will be winning the next battle? I would say forces of cohesion, forces of light, forces of goodness, forces of intelligence, purpose, and nature. And because of that, one will be able to undergo something that is stupendous, something that is real, something that is authentic, and something that is genuine. And because of that, people will recognize that. And whenever you recognize intelligence, pure intelligence, you will say to yourself, well, I think I would be it would be great if we would be in contact. And then if the contact is made, there's a dogma saying that 1 + 1 = 2, and then Gestalt is a German guy, says that 1 + 1 = 3, because when we are two, you have you, me, and us. So we have three things, and you have the Wizard of Us. So the thing is this, is that if you have you, me, and us when we're two, and when we are 50, we are more than 50, we are maybe 100, and if we are 1,000, we can be like the equivalent of 10,000, because each and every one of us is making like a link with the other one, and each link is preferred and is different. And since it's that, then we beneficiate with the exchanging of the exponential and algorithm this is creating. And it's really interesting to see that people will come together, people will share, and people will be very genuine in their creativeness of their mind. And so I think that for today I've said enough. And the last thing I want to finish with is this here. So this here are my Scotch rocks, because I have Scottish origin. And those were given to me because normally you just put that in the fridge, and then when you have a drink, you put this and like ice cube, and you don't need to worry about the melting of the ice cap or the ice cube, because what it does is that it stays, very, very cold, and it stays at the same time very not diluted with your drink, because normally when you have ice, the ice melts and then your drink is diluted and then it doesn't taste like it used to be. So of course what we have here is, I will just keep one, we have here two very easy, we have two lines of 4, so this represents 2 times 4. And the formula I was talking to you about the other minute is that if you have 2 times 4, it's the equivalent of 9 minus 1, which is the average between 2 and 4 is what is 3, and 3 squared is 9, and 9 minus 1 is 8. So the only way to demonstrate this on a geometric pathway is that 2 lines of 4, the only way you can create a perfect square is by doing so, and by doing so, and here we are. So here what do we have? We have 2 times 4 is equaling, so 9, which is 3 squared minus 1, because of course if we this one here we are. So now I'm working with the formula, which is with the square, and if you would want to say 2 times 4, it can be written in another way, it could be this way. So 2 times 4 could be this. But this is not a linear formula then, because it's outside a 2 dimension. If we leave 2 dimension, the only way we can do this is by doing so, and then you will have 2 by 4, which is 9 minus 1. So this is a really easy way to understand it, and then I will hope that people will understand this, and my formula that holds with the cubic dimension is more like this with x, y, and z axis, and then it will determine technically what is the matter. And what is the matter with me in the way of speech is that if you know how to go from invisible realm to the physical realm, because you can explain the three-dimensional of the energy and the creation of three-dimensionality, then you will be able to reverse this and go from the visible realm, which is the matter, to the invisible. And when you predetermine this, you'll do a bit like what Grabovoi did, this Russian guy. He's more like a shamanism, and he has saying that if you have some letters and if you have some numbers and some figures and then with some words, then you have a way of programming the matter. And he's right in a sense, but he has a part of the equation but not all the equation. And comes with this the understanding of the meaning of life and the understanding of how the matter was created. And if you know how to do this, you'll be able to at one point funnel the energy through your throat chakra, and the word you will pronounce will address the matter, and you'll be able to confine the matter into a force field to leave it trapped there, reconfigure it, and then reorganize at the molecule structure with the covalent ligands. And when you'll do this, you'll work with the nuclear forces that are weak and that are strong, and with the gravitation and with the magnetism. And when you do all this, basically you'll be able to play around with the matter, and you'll be able to play around with the matter, which is a chair or a table or whatever, or an animal, and you will be able to get in link with the animal, a bit like in the movie Avatar, but you don't have to have those links in the back, because the link would be a mind link, and the mind link is no connection outside the connection of the energy. So you don't have any, all the things that are connecting, between the computer and the screen and whatever, and the dashboard. So basically, you'll be able to do this. You'll be able to do this with the elements, the same thing. Because the elements, if you get in sync with the nature of Earth, with the etheric nature, you'll be able to control the wind, magnetism, the magma, and the water, and the density of the water, and the precipitation, and the Earth itself. And then you'll be able to really do this. But before you do this, you'll do this with yourself. And if you do this with yourself, well, basically you'll be able to dismantle, disorganize, and you'll be able to vanish into thin air and to reprogram yourself in another time-space continuum elsewhere on Earth. So this is very basic, but basically it's this. So I guess that for today I've done enough damage, I guess, and I will be on my way, because now I have something very down to earth to do. I have to prepare supper, what you call lunch. And since my consort is coming in the next coming hour, I would like her to have a nice supper when she gets home. And then she can say, "Honey, where's my dinner?" So it's a joke. So basically, this is what we're doing right now. And I guess it is very exhilarating in one sense, and it's really creative in the other sense. And you will get all this on my internet site, and you'll see like Il Magico de Hoy, and you'll see The Wizard of Oz 2 or The Sole Purpose. And there will be 23 booklets of that, to have my whole encyclopedia, which is 2,400 pages, that just go and see on the internet, the website, the table of contents and the glossary, and you'll understand where I come from and what I want to lead you to. And the other thing you have to know is now I'm writing a very summary scientific book with my formula, with the understanding that I have with manipulating matter itself, and what is the destiny of mankind, which within the next 20 years. And it's really exciting in one sense, because whatever I've been experiencing in the last 20, 30, 40 years, when I look back, I said, my God, my gosh, Michel, where are we going to? This is going nowhere. And if you see in the newspaper, not even the gossip papers, but the regular newspaper, and it's a very big circus on Earth, and a lot of conflict, and a lot of lacking of love, and lacking of intelligence, and lacking of sure will. We have desires, we have emotions, and then we have intellectualism, and then we have rationalism, and we have linear thoughts, but not three-dimensional holographic thoughts. And if you want to go see the internet site of this guy Jean Rat, it's holo inner for holographic energy, so HOLOENR ENER, sorry. So, and then you'll find him, and he's referring to the Wise Society, SSE Society, all societies that have a lot of stuff to inquire about humanity, about experiencing and to achieving greatness in another dimension. So it's been my pleasure talking to you, and I guess that this will light you up and give you the spark of being in contact with me at one point or another, or at least being in contact with yourself, with your inner wizard, the Wizard of Us, which is the Wizard of You, or the sole purpose of whatever you want to do on earth. Well, you have to do something creative, something that is fulfilling, something that is true, genuine, and something that you will like, of course, or love, and something that will render you a better person and will be helping you of unleashing your potential to a maximum. It's been my pleasure. Thank you.